There is a scene in the Bond Supremacy where Jason Bourne gets into a car chase. I love that movie, but that scene pissed me off. I was watching the screen, but I had no idea what was happening. And this was not because the editing was confusing, it was because the camera would not stop moving. That is where we are starting today. The number one movie trend I am happy is dying is the shaky cam. Welcome to my rant. Before I get started, I want to come out and say I am not a hater. Handheld cinematography is not some unforgivable crime. It can be done right. The Blair Witch Project is the perfect example. The shaky cam made sense for the narrative. Blair Witch Project is a found footage film shot on a handheld camera, so it makes sense that the camera is shaking. Shaky cam only becomes annoying when it's not a deliberate artistic choice. I don't like when shaky cam is used as the default technique to make a scene feel urgent, real, or intense. Now we just see shaky cam everywhere, in action movies, thrillers, dramas, and horror. I sometimes don't get directors. You want to show me that something important is happening on screen, but you decide that shaking the camera is the way to go about it. How do you expect me to follow along? As a lover of film and cinema though, I kinda get where it comes from and the inspiration behind these types of shots. Cinema verite. Cinema verite is a documentary style from the 1960s where filmmakers used handheld cameras to capture real life as it happened. It gave films an amazing texture and tactility. Day Afternoon, The Battle of Algiers, and more recently, United 93 are good examples. In these films, the shaky cam makes sense because it's a part of the narrative, just like in the Blair Witch Project. You feel like you're watching something real being documented in the moment. But somewhere along the way, Hollywood decided to use the technique all the time and for everything, even when nothing remotely documentary-like is happening. Let's pause for a moment and think about what shaky cam as a visual language is supposed to communicate. When I see shaky cam footage, it lets me know that the footage was captured spontaneously without any setup by someone who was actually there. It signals three things: unpredictability, danger, and authenticity, things you want your audience to feel. My problem is when you apply a shaky cam to scenes where there are no stakes. For example, when two characters are sitting in a kitchen having a conversation, using a shaky cam is just visual noise even if they are having a tense conversation. It makes the viewer's eyes and brain work hard for no good reason. Paul Greengrass is the king of this. Shaky cam is basically the entire visual identity of the Bond films. To be fair though, Greengrass used it with more intentionality than most. I can give an excuse that the chaos of the camera mirrors Jason Bourne's fractured mental state. Jason never feels safe or settled, so even though I used it as an example in the intro of the video, I am not totally dunking on the Bond identity franchise. With some context, the cinematography is doing some genuine work, but then everybody copied it without understanding why he was doing it. And that is the story of every trend on this list actually. Someone does something with craft and intention. The industry sees that it made lots of money or got critical attention, and then other filmmakers reverse engineer it only to create a pale imitation of the aesthetic without any of the underlying thoughts. The first Hunger Games movie is probably the most popular example of a director going all in with shaky cam. I love the Hunger Games franchise, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't complain. Yes, there are scenes where the shaky cam does a great job of capturing the air of unsteadiness the tributes were feeling, but still, I truly believe balance is needed. Someone on Reddit describes my thoughts perfectly. It's like Oreos, a couple tastes great, but if you eat too much, you feel sick. I was happy that the series evolved away from relying so much on shaky cam. By the time we get to Mockingjay, the camera is almost completely stable. Shaky cam is not fully dead. It's still in movies, but it is mostly in horror movies, which I can still manage. Everywhere else, it's mostly gone, and I believe cinema is better for it. Trend 2. Color grading abuse. While we're on the subject of things that made movies look terrible, let's talk about color. From the mid-2000s to the mid-2010s, Hollywood fell in love with a specific color palette, teal and orange. You will see these colors everywhere. Every movie and blockbuster poster looked like it had been processed through the same filter. I wonder who was the first person to decide these were the colors to work with, because once a few big films used these colors and it looked good, every colorist in Hollywood started using the same color setting. Why am I even complaining about colors? Well, my problem is with how these colors are used. When color is used thoughtfully, it can be stunning, but 7 out of 10 times it's not. When every movie that comes out uses orange and teal, the color stops being a storytelling tool. It's now a marketing tool. It feels like branding. Let me ask you guys a question. What's the first movie that comes to your mind when you see the color green? I can bet my last cash that is The Matrix. What about blue? You will most likely think of Avatar. Matrix and Avatar have a distinct color palette. You can even say it's the movie's brand. But when everyone starts using the same colors, every movie starts to look like the same movie. Every character's skin becomes so orange that they start looking like Garfield or the Lorax. Shadows are also so teal you would think the film was set underwater. Michael Bay is probably the biggest fan of these colors. If you watch the Transformer films, it's just a few shots that are not teal or orange. And Michael wasn't the only one either. We've seen this color scheme time and time again in movies like Iron Man and Gladiator. But here's why this color trend sucked to me personally. Using the same color in every movie breaks immersion. When I notice this color in a movie now, I stop thinking about the story and characters. All I can think of is why the director chose these colors. Films can be warm without it looking orange. They can be cool without looking like it was shot through a fish tank. Color is a storytelling tool. Directors like Wes Anderson and Park Chan-wook have the sauce. When it comes to using colors as a storytelling device, they are the top of the ladder. I rewatched The Grand Budapest Hotel not too long ago and I couldn't get enough of the colors. It's such a beautiful film, very pleasing to the eye. Trend 3. Splitting the final book into 2 movies. Have you ever experienced this? You're watching a film based on a book you love. The movie has a runtime of about 2 hours. About 1 hour 30 minutes into the film, you realize that the movie's runtime hasn't even gone through half of the book. You pick up the remote to look at how much time is left in the movie, and there are 30 minutes left. Inside those 30 minutes, the end credits will still take like 20 minutes. Nothing is more annoying than this. You then have to wait for a part 2 that may not come out for a year or 2. To me, the only reasons why studios do this is greed. They just want to squeeze out as much money as they can from the audience. This trend started with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows in 2010. Warner Bros. Decided that the final book of the franchise was too long and too dense to fit into a single movie, and so they split it into 2 films released 7 months apart. Part 1 in November of 2010 and Part 2 in July of 2011. But here's the thing about Harry Potter. I would defend this split. I can argue that it had some justification. Deathly Hallows is a dense book even though it is not the longest in the series. The honor goes to the Order of the Phoenix, but Deathly Hallows still covers a lot of things. The 10th camping sequence alone, which takes up a significant portion of the middle of the book, would have been almost impossible to honor in a single film that also needed to pay off 10 years of story. So part 1 of Deathly Hallows is actually a pretty good film. But what did Hollywood take from that? They did not learn the lesson about density and storytelling. Instead, they took the lesson about money, as always. Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2 together grossed roughly $2.3 billion. Releasing 2 films instead of 1 meant twice the theatrical releases and twice the ticket sales. The math was irresistible, so every studio with a young adult book franchise started doing it. Twilight split Breaking Dawn into 2 parts. The Hunger Games split Mockingjay into part 1 and part 2. Divergent even split the second book into Allegiance and Ascendant. Unfortunately for them, the franchise ended before Allegiance was released. I guess audiences finally had enough. This trend 9 out of 10 times is rooted in greed rather than craft. And the truth is that when you split a story into multiple parts purely for commercial reasons, you end up creating a structural problem that no amount of filmmaking can fix. The first part of the split usually has to end without actually ending. So what does the director do to solve this? The director manufactures a cliffhanger from material that was never written as a midpoint. The result is that we get a film with no third act, just action rising, and then stopping abruptly. We the audience get no resolution. I would say this is the narrative equivalent of someone telling you a joke and walking away before the punchline. I hope this trend is dead now. I don't see it happening a lot anymore. And you know what's funny? This trend did not die because Hollywood grew a conscience. Trust Hollywood execs to be focused only on profits. Just take a look at how new movies are bombing in theaters. Reading that Supergirl made less money than Mobius in its first week is such a shame. Opening with $40 million on a production budget of roughly $170 million is abysmal. The only reason why the trend of splitting a book into 2 parts ended is because audiences got wise to it and stopped rewarding it. If the Lord of the Ring novels, which are huge novels, were not split, I don't see why you will be splitting Mockingjay and the Divergent series, which are smaller books, if not greed. My advice: if your book is too long for a movie, make a series. Trend 4. Trailers that spoil the whole movie. Speaking of studios treating audiences with contempt, there was a period when watching a trailer felt like you had just read a plot summary. In a 2.5 minute trailer, you can deduce the beginning, middle, and ending of the movie. Trailers are supposed to be a promise of what you will see in the movie. It's supposed to be just a legal taste. Go back and watch trailers from the 1970s and 1980s. They were often impressionistic. They sold a feeling. They showed you images, gave you atmosphere, maybe featured a voiceover telling you this was the most important film you will see this year. What they did not do was show you the third act. Somewhere around the late 1990s and through the 2000s and into the 2010s, marketing departments started operating on a specific theory. Audiences are more likely to buy a ticket if they already know the movie is good. And the best way to prove the movie is good is to show them the good bits, including the bits that only work if you do not see them coming. And this is the part that annoys me the most. I wouldn't want to see Thanos snapping the gauntlet in a trailer. In the trailer for Castaway released in 2000, they showed that Chuck got rescued from the island. That is the entire emotional climax of the film. The question of whether he survives is the central dramatic tension. Why would they show that in the trailer? If you ask me, now who I go ask? They also revealed that John Connor was the villain in the Terminator Genesis trailer. 2 months before the movie came out, the marketing team kept hammering that John Connor is now the bad guy in their desperate attempt to generate hype. Why will you reveal that the protagonist of the entire mythology of the franchise is now a villain in a trailer? It felt so cheap. Cinema at its core is a medium of surprise and discovery. When film studios use cheap tricks to create hype or boost early box office tracking numbers, to me, they muddy the medium. My emotional response to a scene is directly tied to whether I know if it is coming. This is why I have been tiptoeing on Twitter the past few days. I have been avoiding House of the Dragon Season 3 spoilers like the plague. Sometimes I go as far as muting certain words so I don't see the movie at all in my timeline. While working on this script, I also realized that there was a time I completely stopped watching movie trailers. Maybe subconsciously, I just wanted to avoid any spoilers before I sat down to watch the movie. The trailer for a film is supposed to make you want to experience the movie. Instead, it was now a compressed version you could consume for free. Studios now use trailers to gauge audience reactions. Studios will cut trailers to highlight moments that tested well with preview audiences. But the problem is that the moments that test best are usually the most dramatic, most surprising, most impactful moments in the film. These are exactly the moments you should not be giving away for free. There are signs that things are improving. You can tell that some directors now have contractual approval over trailers. Christopher Nolan is famously protective of his marketing, to the point where his trailers tell you almost nothing about the structure of his films. Oppenheimer had a good trailer. The new Odyssey trailer is fantastic. I love it. It makes me want to experience the movie. Someone told me I should take Nolan's knob out of my mouth. My response to him was that I'm sure it's huge. But I see his point. I think I have praised Nolan in 2 of my last videos. I even have a video dedicated to 3 of his movies on my channel. I just love Nolan's films. He's a great director, and that's the end of my small rant. I don't know why YouTube hasn't been showing my videos any love. I hardly get any impressions. If you watched this video and enjoyed it, do like, comment, and most importantly subscribe. Let's get the channel to at least 5,000 subs. See you guys in the next video. Ciao.